You introduced me to glutathione, and I took it for a year and a half. I paused it and I came back to it. But more I study, it looks like just such a powerful supplement. Um, do you think it's also good for fatty liver? Because I have been trying to study it, and I had at one time higher ASL, ALT,
Mhm.
and at that time I kind of researched what to do, but I wasn't sure. Some studies say it's very effective for the liver, and others were not sure. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's effective for the liver. So glutathione is our body's master antioxidant. So if you're talking about oxidative stress, which I communicate as metaphorically as rust in your body, rust is similar to inflammation, right? They're both going to wreck your body. They'll just do it a little bit differently. So I communicate it as, if you have two kids that aren't twins, one is rust, one is inflammation. They don't look exactly the same, but they're both going to wreck your house, right? So oxidative stress is rust, and rust damages our body. It's like aging you too fast, right? So if you have too much rust, maybe you have too many wrinkles too young, or too much gray hair too young, or your joints break down too early, or whatever it is. And so glutathione is the master antioxidant. So oxidation is rust, antioxidant is anti-rust. Okay. So if you've ever seen the movie Cars from Pixar, Lightning McQueen, his main sponsor is Rusty's, right? So it's the kind of the rust be gone stuff. So his sponsor is glutathione. All right. So yes, glutathione is rust be gone. So that's one of its major components. And you could think of it as anti-inflammatory just because it's essentially the same thing. But then from a liver standpoint, glutathione is big time in promoting liver detoxification. So because the liver receives everything from the gut, okay, so if we draw a gut here, everything from the gut enters the liver uh, through the portal vein, uh, or excuse me, through hepatic circulation, and what's called first pass metabolism. So whatever's going on in the gut has to go to the liver first, and the liver essentially is the gatekeeper to say you may enter or you may not. Okay, and so the gut is the source, is the highway through which most things enter our body because we swallow it through food and drink. And so anything that's toxic in what we're consuming is going to the liver and being hopefully stopped and detoxified and gotten rid of. And so we need lots of glutathione in there to deal with things like glyphosate and other herbicides and pesticides in our food, deal with fluoride in water, deal with aluminum and iron and mercury and other metals in our foods and environment, deal with mold and mycotoxins and things like that from our environment, deal with GMOs and deal with antibiotics and everything we're facing, off-gassing from new carpets or hardwood floors, the new car smell, like all that stuff is our toxic chemicals that the liver has to deal with. So we need lots of glutathione to help keep up with all that. And so
Well,
glutathione helps us get there. That's our master antioxidant. And then there's two others. Kind of the number two antioxidant would be superoxide dismutase, known as SOD. And the third would be called catalase. Catalase. And those would be the top three antioxidants there. And it all kind of runs together, Niraj, because whatever you're having to detox is going to drive oxidative stress and inflammation. So it's kind of killing two birds with one stone in a way for you.
is it possible, it's Myrna,
Yeah.
is it possible to take the glutathione indefinitely?
Yeah. But that's possible. It depends on the case and what's going on, So like Someone with, someone that's got a mycotoxin case might need it more than just someone who doesn't, or someone that's got history of non-alcoholic fatty liver as part of a metabolic syndrome or insulin resistance type 2 diabetes case. That could be part of it, or someone that's got autoimmune hepatitis or something like that. But even just someone that doesn't have any diagnoses, if they're trying to be as optimal and healthy as possible, we're in a world that is toxic in every direction. So having our number one defense against that at optimal levels is a good strategy, in my opinion.
Now, I started the program on the 10th, and I see that the glutathione has 48 servings.
Yep.
So that means that before I go to Florida, I need to get some more.
No, before you go to Florida, we will retest at your 6 weeks and we'll see what your numbers look like, and then we'll know should we continue that or not.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So in the appendix 1, I say some things will run out, and that's planned nutrition.
Okay.
And the testing helps us determine, well, should we bring that back in, or are we good to let it go at that point?
Okay. Because I want to be able to not disrupt the whole
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, I'm with you.
Because it's 2 months.
Yep. And so we'll know specific to you at that time. But
Okay.
you can't, so glutathione is something that it can be considered, long term. And then another thing that you've probably heard of is called N-acetylcysteine, NAC or NAC, some people call it. And this is the precursor to glutathione. So your body will take NAC, which is delivering cysteine to you, which is an amino acid, and that combines with glycine and glutamine to produce glutathione. And so it takes enzymatic reactions to make that conversion.
Mm-hmm.
And so some people will say, well, glutathione's more expensive, I can just take NAC. And that may be true for most people, but some people don't make the conversion from NAC to glutathione as efficiently as we like them to. So for those people, sometimes giving straight glutathione gives them results where taking lots of NAC doesn't. And that, that can be a way to figure out. If the person knows that already, then it's kind of a clinical sign like, hey, you're not an efficient converter of NAC to glutathione, so let's just try straight glutathione for you.
Don't forget about the sulfur that's needed.
Yeah, that's what comes from cysteine. Cysteine's a sulfur,
Okay.
delivery molecule there. Yeah, so cysteine's important because of the sulfur component.
Yeah, I have a question. So there's other liver supporting detox supplements such as milk thistle, dandelion, turmeric. How do those work similarly, or how do those work?
Similar and different. So they'll all have like turmeric has multiple mechanisms of action. One will be as an anti-inflammatory, but it also has some chelation properties, which is kind of like grab and go. So maybe binding to a metal or binding to a mycotoxin and helping take it out that way. The milk thistle will help drive certain liver detox pathways more efficiently. So the liver has multiple detoxification pathways. There's hydroxylation and glucuronidation and methylation, lots of ations. And each of those different pathways require different nutrients to work. So, there's quote unquote liver supplements like milk thistle that most people, if you know this stuff and someone said, what's a liver supplement? Like that's the first one you think of. But then there's nutrients that would be a quote unquote liver supplement that you might not know as a liver supplement because you're taking them for methylation, but the liver does a ton of methylation. So if you're taking your methylfolate to methylate better, indirectly you're improving liver function, and because the liver is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting on methylating and recycling homocysteine, which is the goal of a lot of people taking the methylfolate. So there's some general similarities, but then they have their own specific contributions to more specific pathways as well.
Thank you.
So good.
No,
Anything else on
that's
that,
good.
Niraj?
No, that's greatly helpful. So for NAFL, you said non-fatty liver or non-alcoholic fatty liver.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
we have to choose one supplement, would it be milk thistle or should it be glutathione? And I know it's a tough question, but even if not the one, how do you compare these two?
It would be neither of those.
Okay.
It would be l-carnitine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and if you, I'd go acetyl L-carnitine actually. So Niraj asked if someone has non-alcoholic fatty liver, would I pick milk thistle or glutathione? And I said I would pick neither of those. I'd pick acetyl L-carnitine, and the reason for that, L-carnitine. All right, it's hard to
Amino acid?
it's hard to write well with a mouse. Yeah. Yes, and the reason for that is L-carnitine helps. It's basically a shuttle for fat. So if you think about sugar, right? The insulin is to sugar what carnitine is to fat. So insulin is the kind of chaperone or the delivery vehicle for sugar into the cell. Carnitine is the delivery vehicle for fat into the cell. And so if you're having, fatty buildup in the liver, you're not handling fats well. And so carnitine helps you be more efficient. Essentially what carnitine is going to do is help drive the fat into the mitochondria as an energy source, and you can burn that fat. So I would say acetyl L-carnitine, Niraj.
Awesome. Yeah, let me study this more. But I mean, I came out of it, I thought it was glutathione, but maybe it just happens
Well,
because of something.
of those two, of just glutathione and milk thistle, it'd be glutathione. Yes.
Okay, yeah, but
Yeah.
I didn't know about acetyl L-carnitine.
But yeah, but like I would put that above the glutathione for that specific, for the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
Yeah.
While at the same time, dealing with non-alcoholic fatty liver can occur on its own, but very commonly it's part of an insulin resistant metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, blood sugar handling issue. So the acetyl L-carnitine would be the supplement to take, with the liver focus, but obviously cleaning up the diet and the sugars and things like that would need to happen as well. Don't continue the diet that got you there and just take carnitine to band-aid over it, which I know, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
no, that's a fair advice. Lose weight and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And then from an exercise standpoint, I made a video on this last night. I haven't posted it yet, but an excellent way to help burn that fat exercise wise is zone 2 type aerobic training, which is doing whatever you like to do, whether that's cycling, swimming, walking, weights, rowing, whatever, at a zone 2 heart rate, which is a 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. And that accumulating, maybe starting at 2 hours total a week, but pushing to try and get to 4 hours total a week of zone 2 aerobic training increases mitochondria number, increases their efficiency, and those are where those are the powerhouses of our cells, but they also control your immune system and all kinds of other bodily functions. It helps lower blood pressure. It lowers pain. It improves insulin sensitivity. So, the zone 2 training for health, if someone says for health, what's the best way to exercise? Zone 2 is the best way to exercise because pretty much anyone can do it, and you don't need any special equipment, and you don't need to be like, you don't have to do CrossFit or anything like higher level or higher injury risk. And it's got the most global benefits. So, in talking about non-alcoholic fatty liver, clean up the diet, grow your zone 2 training level, shoot for 2 hours, then grow to 4, take some acetyl L-carnitine, and there's a lot of other pieces, but those are good ones to start with.
How
Awesome.
do you calculate your max heart rate?
So the quote unquote easy way, but maybe not the most accurate way, is to take your age and subtract that from 220. So you would do 220 minus your age. And then, so if we're doing 220 and say you're 50, right? Age 50. So 220 minus 50 for the example is 170. Oops, hard to write with a mouse. So 170, and then you want to stay between 60 and 70% of the 170, right? So 60% of 170 would be 17 times 6 would be 60 for 102, I think. That's right. And then 70% would be 17 more, so 119. Am I right there? 17 times 6, 10 times 6 is 60, 7 times 6 is 42. Yeah, that should be it. Someone check me. But if that's correct, then your workout, you would get your heart rate up to between 102 and 119, and you hold it there for the length of your workout. And you want to accumulate, 2 to 4 plus hours a week total of time in that heart rate.
Your math is correct.
Sweet, thank you. I still got it.
So is that the same for everybody, that same zone for your heart rate?
No, it depends on what your age is.
Oh, okay.
So it'd be 220 minus your age, and then you would have to figure it, so sorry. So the way to do this with a calculator would be the 170 times 0.6 to get your 60% and times 0.7 to get your 70%. And then you want to be between those two numbers. So 0.6, 0.6 is the decimal for percentage of 60% and 0.7 for 70%.
Right.
So yeah, you would just put your age in, and that's the rough way. And you can go online and see videos of people like saying, oh, that's garbage and it's not accurate enough. And it's like, yeah, but takes 2 minutes and it's close enough for most people. If you're getting, to a higher level of fitness, then the actual best way to do it is to go do a VO2 max test, which is more expensive, more time consuming, and definitely less comfortable to do. But that is the most accurate way. So, and then there's some kind of in between stages between those two things. But if you are just getting started, this will get you close enough. And if you have something like an Apple Watch or a Fitbit or a Polar, heart rate monitor watch with a strap kind of thing. And most exercise bikes and ellipticals and things now have, if you hold the handles, it starts telling you your heart rate after 30 seconds or so. You can just do your exercise and observe, what's your watch telling you your heart rate's at, or what's the elliptical telling you your heart rate's at, and try and keep within that range. And the ellipticals and Pelotons and things now, you can create a workout where you say, I want to be in a zone 2 or be between a 102 and 119 heart rate for this whole workout, and you set that, and it'll start beeping at you if you go too high or too low to keep you in that range. So yes, there's definitely a more accurate way to figure your range than the age thing, but you'd have to go find a VO2 max equipment, and I've looked, it's not all over the place.
And if you're not using a Peloton or anything that tracks it for you, what's the bet? Just a heart rate monitor that's simple, like I don't do an Apple Watch or anything like that. So
Yeah.
Cheapest, easiest, most accurate would just be something you strap around your torso and tracks your heart.
Yeah. So I'm with you. I don't like the EMF stuff on me. So I have I mean, Timex has them, Polar has them. There's different brands that just make the heart rate monitor, watch, and chest strap combo. And I think they range in price. It's been a little while since I bought one, but you could probably get them pretty cheap now, since all the EMF devices do it too. They're probably suffering competition wise, but yeah. So you want the chest strap, and it connects to a watch. And what I would do is wear it for a couple of days, so you get some info on just what is your average heart rate.
Okay.
And knowing your heart rate is also going to calculate your calories burned for you. So you can, what I did is I'd wear it for a week and just notice total calories burned every day. And then I would keep a pad of, okay, Monday I burned this many calories and I didn't work out. Tuesday I burned this many calories and I did work out, et cetera, et cetera. So you know how many calories you burn on a rest day and how many you burn on a workout day, because on the workout day you're burning more than on the rest day, so you may need to fuel differently and replace more. So you get an idea of what your caloric burn is like there, and then once you know that, that's interesting to watch as you improve your aerobic capacity through the zone 2 training. Your resting metabolism will improve. You'll burn more at rest. So you'll be like, wow, I'm burning more calories and I'm still resting like I used to. And it's like, yeah, but your metabolism has improved. So what you're doing is paying off, calorically, if that's something you want to see happen. So good one there, Ash. That one led to lots of good.
That was pretty good. Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question?
Yeah, can I go back to the glutathione?
Oh yeah, sure. Before
Is it so they have different forms of it, and I've
Right.
had the liquid form
Mm-hmm.
prescribed. I've had the gel, and now I have a powder form as well.
Yeah.
Does it really matter, or is one, like, if I'm going to replenish, do I want to go look for the liquid, the gel, or the powder?
Mm-hmm. Great question. And it's kind of a point of contention too in the research. Most of the research has been done on a capsule, and the research will say glutathione makes no impact on systemic glutathione levels in the healthy individual. It doesn't reach the system, so to speak. The problem with that is the research, the quote unquote healthy individual they're researching is the typical unhealthy American, right? So just because they're not diagnosed doesn't mean they're healthy, but in the research, that's someone without a diagnosis is their standard for healthy. So we know these people aren't healthy because we know the average population isn't healthy. And so the point of all that is to say, well, very common in the average population is being overweight, is gut dysfunction, is GI stuff. And so because up to 80% of the immune system's in the gut, and like we said with the liver, many of the toxins and things that need to be detoxed and stuff from our body come in through the gut. There's a lot of crap, pun intended, but also just junk in the GI tract that is pro-inflammatory and causing rust, that needs to be neutralized. And so if you swallow glutathione down with that, it's likely going to be used up in the gut dealing with all that junk. So it's not that it can't hit the system, it's that probably most of the people they're studying it on are so unhealthy GI wise that it's just being used up before it can ever make it out of the system. And then another part of that is that if it makes it through the gut to the liver breaks it down and then reconstitutes it. So that's another step of like, hey, we're breaking it apart from the glutamine, glycine, cysteine tripeptide that it is into their constituent amino acids, and then rebuilding it before it goes to the system. And so if we pull those apart, now those different amino acids have the opportunity to be pulled into a different protein to be made into something else. So if you're trying to hit the system, then the thought is using a liposomal form, which is typically, you know, a liquid or a, you know, the toothpaste consistency type. We want to use that because you would take that, say, and hold it under the tongue and let it absorb into the oral mucosa and into the blood vessels in the mouth and go hit the system that way. And that way you're skipping the whole gut liver part. You're skipping first pass metabolism. It's small enough to jump into the bloodstream and be delivered systemically that way. So if my idea was to help the gut and the liver primarily, then I would take it oral and just swallow it down as a capsule or a powder. If I was trying to hit a system, you know, hit the system faster, I would do a liposomal form. And if I say I had to spot treat a wound or a scar or something, then I would apply it topically. And then, you know, I've also applied it topically over the thyroid, you know, for certain thyroid patients where we want to address Hashimoto's and things of that nature. So they all have use. It just kind of depends on what you are trying to do. And the similar conversation applies to turmeric and curcumin. Turmeric and curcumin is great at putting out fires, but if you swallow it again, it's probably going to put out fires in the gut and liver and not have a lot left after that in the average person to hit the system. So if you want to hit the system with it primarily, then using a liposomal form is likely to be more beneficial than swallowing the capsule.
So could you do both?
Yeah.
Or would you get too much?
No. You could do
so
both.
I could do both the liposomal, put it under my tongue, and then also the powder
Yeah.
and swallow it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And I've done both in with patients, both the glutathione, but also more often I've done both the curcumin swallow and liposomal, depending, because there's multiple things we wanted to address. And so you know, we can hit the system and the gut directly by using different modes of delivery.